Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Geek-Minded Fools. My name's Graham.
And I'm Scott.
As usual, we'll kick off with a visit to the monkey farm.
Hey, partners, it's time to see what Scott's doing down on his monkey farm.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
I've got something very special for you this week.
Oh, hello.
Well, I know you could call it special, you might call it lazy. I'm going to allow you to do some of the monkey farm this week.
Oh,
Yeah, that's right.
what an honour.
Isn't it? And you know what? If you're a very good boy, going forward in the future, you might even get your own counter in here. And, you know, one day, all this could be yours. I fucking doubt it, but one day.
One day, I might get to kick you out.
Yeah, again, very, very doubtful.
Very unlikely.
But we'll...
Wishful thinking.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes today, and let's call this a trial shift.
Oh, okay then.
Yeah? Alright, okay, let's call it a trial shift.
Yeah.
With that in mind, sir, I'm going to open up...
This is my probation period.
Yeah, I'm going to open up your probation period and show you how it should be done. Alright?
Go on.
Guess what they're remaking?
Go on.
Again.
What?
Nightmare on fucking Elm
You're
Street.
kidding me.
It's almost... You know, we had this thing a few episodes back where we kind of... If we spoke about saying it would happen, and I'm worried now that because we've done a commentary on Nightmare on Elm Street, that's why it's happened.
Why?
I just don't know why they would bother.
So rebooting it completely, starting again from the
Rebooting
beginning.
it, starting it again without tiny little... I was going to call him Hallie Joel Osment then, but it's not. It's Jackie Earl Haley. His head is nowhere near as wide as Hallie Joel Osment's. I'm sorry, Hallie, but it is. Yeah, I just don't get it. I don't get it. Why do they feel the need to
Actor,
reboot
director, anything like that in
There's
place?
nothing really been put out there yet. I mean, it literally is just the news that New Line are rebooting it again. Now, did you see the last remake? I can't remember.
I didn't, no.
You didn't? It wasn't awfully good, to be honest. They'd messed around with the mythos.
That's what I heard, which is why I didn't see it.
They'd messed around with the mythos of the character. They made massive reference to the fact that he was now a child rapist, not a child killer.
Yeah.
He was never written as a rapist. He was written as a child murderer, not a rapist. You know, not a word I like bandying around.
But then let's face it, you know, paedophilia is a very hot button topic at the moment, and therefore you can understand them saying, rather than just having something killed, let's make him even more despicable.
Yeah.
Because child murder is a terrible thing,
Of course, yeah.
child rape and murder, you can understand why a bunch of parents might want to go and set someone on fire.
Yeah, I get that. Maybe the 80s were you know, a different time, obviously, for making films, but I still don't think you need to mess with a character's backstory that much.
No.
It's bad enough that he's killing the poor little fuckers.
Yes.
You know? Apparently, though, you know, we are in good hands screenwriter-wise, because it's David Leslie Johnson, who's also been hired to rewrite Dungeons and Dragons.
What?
Could you pick any two more mismatched fucking projects? You really couldn't, could you? You really couldn't. But New Line are a very, very powerful studio. They can do what they want, as they've proven time and time again.
Yeah.
It can't be any worse than the last one, but I just don't think it's needed.
No.
But some people are going along the lines with the argument, well, they've remade Dracula and Frankenstein, you know, so many times, why can't they do that? Because these aren't universal horror icons, as it were. They are horror icons to us, but they're not in the same kind of camp as your Frankenstein and your Dracula and your Wolfman. And they should never be deemed as such, you know.
No, quite.
So, you know, as much as I do love New Line cinema, really, just
knock it on the head.
Knock it on the head. Or come up with a new fucking licence.
Well, absolutely.
Something new, something
Create
fresh.
something different.
There's enough brilliant writers out there. There's enough brilliant stories out there to tell. There's enough brilliant comics that they could take, you know, amazing stories from.
Indeed.
Just the well hath run dry, I think, for that particular area.
Oh dear.
Staying on the remake train, as it were, what's your favourite DIY tool? Have you got a favourite DIY? Do you do a lot of DIY?
Believe it or not, I was doing some DIY today.
What are you using? Were you using any sort of like a bandsaw, a drill or anything?
A drill.
Who was it made by?
Black & Decker, I think.
Ah, so that will have something massively in common with the upcoming remake of Predator, sir.
Oh, okay.
Shane Black and Fred Decker. Black & Decker. There you go. Managed to shoehorn that joke in there fucking somehow, didn't we? We got it in, didn't we?
Well done.
Shane Black obviously was in the original Predator. Played the character's name escapes me,
Yes.
but he's the guy with the little... And he was also in that terrible War of the Worlds TV show. Played Colonel Ironhawk.
Never saw that.
It was fucking awful. You weren't missing much. And Fred Decker was the one of the writers of the Monster Squad.
Okay.
Which I absolutely adore. Still think it's a brilliant film. Anyone who has children, make them watch The Monster Squad, because it's a good... Not you, because your children are too young for it.
They are.
Petrified of it. But a great, great film, The Monster Squad. Did you see the last Predator reimagining?
Predators.
Yes. Predators.
Yes, I did. Predators.
Predators.
Yes,
with,
I did.
With
Adrian Brody.
Adrian Brody, yeah.
Yes.
Prime of Adrian Brody.
Yes.
What do you think, Predators?
I didn't hate it. I thought it was
all
alright.
I quite liked it. I like Danny Trejo in it.
Any film with Danny Trejo in it, frankly,
Yeah.
can't go far wrong, can it?
Even Machete, which I did really actually.
Bit of a weird ending, but you know.
Yeah, a good film. I love the whole idea of them just dropping them with the parachutes onto this kind of hunting planet, which I thought was great. Let's see what they do with the reboot, because I think they're going to go back to basics and maybe even recast the Arnie role. I don't know. Can anyone really play Dutch?
No.
Is Predator where "get to the chopper" comes from? I think it is, isn't it?
Yes, I think it is.
There's so many fine Arnold Schwarzenegger films to choose from. Not my favourite Arnie line, I must say. It's got to be "put the cookie down." That's got to be the best one. But you know,
great impression.
It's not bad, is it? It's not bad.
It is.
Is it that bad? Black and Decker. So with that in mind, that's how you do the Monkey Farm news, sir.
Okay.
Have you got any news for me this week?
Well, I have.
You have?
Funnily enough.
What, you pre-prepared this? What, were you going to come in and try and impress me so you could get a trial period?
Spinning off your first piece of news.
All right.
Nightmare on Elm Street, obviously originally directed by Wes Craven.
It was, yeah.
And he is now about to join the long list of filmmakers who's dipping their toe into the world of comics.
How lovely.
He is bringing out his own comic series, co-written with Steve Niles, who wrote the 30 Days of Night comic series that was obviously turned into a very successful film. Published by Liquid Comics, it's going to be called Wes Craven's Coming of Rage.
That sounds like a film that Mark would score.
Doesn't it just?
Yeah. Coming of Rage. I've got to say it again. Coming of Rage.
Wes has said, and I'll read this. About a year ago, I had the beginning of an unwritten joke come into my head. A vampire, a werewolf, and a zombie walk into a bar. Just that. My imagination went crazy thinking about what could happen when three such impossibly different characters were thrown together. I met with comic book legend Steve Niles. We hit it off and decided to work out the story of a very special young man's coming of age and the two unlikely friends who helped him to survive it. So there you go. I mean,
well, that sounds interesting. It does sound interesting.
Could suck, could be quite entertaining, but I've ordered you a copy, so we can maybe have a review in a future episode. It'll be out in October.
Let us have a review of that.
So, yes.
Not far off. Not far off.
I quite like the cover, though.
The cover artwork does look beautiful. It reminds me of, there was a PlayStation 1 game called Soul Reaver.
Right.
If you remember that, a long time back.
Yeah.
It reminds me very much of that.
Excellent.
Yeah. Have you got any more news for me?
I do, as a matter of fact.
All right. Well, let's keep it. Trim, quick, to the point. Punchy, indeed.
You remember a few episodes ago I mentioned the fact that Marvel were rebooting their titles under the banner All New, All Different Marvel.
Yes.
And a lot more details about the titles are starting to come out. Most recently about the reboot of the character Daredevil.
Very nice indeed.
Now, Daredevil in the comics, Matt Murdock, obviously Daredevil's secret identity, he was outed as Daredevil. And so because he wasn't allowed as a superhero to practice law in New York, he moved to San Francisco. And so all of Volume 4, which is about 18, 19 issues, had Daredevil out in San Francisco. Apparently, when they reboot it, he's going to be back in New York, and instead of working out of Hell's Kitchen as he usually is, he's going to be working out of Chinatown. He's also going to be having a partner, so somebody who's going to be fighting alongside him, so it'll be interesting to see what they do with that. But most importantly, he's getting a new costume. They are going away from the normal red costume, and he's going to be in a black costume.
Ooh, so he could look kind of like the Jim Jams.
Well, precisely. But I don't know how much that is to do with the TV show, because obviously the TV costume has a lot of black on it in terms of the armour and the makeup of the costume. So it is literally the Daredevil costume as it was before, but black, but with a red DD on the chest.
Very nice too. I mean, you famously said to me, I don't know if you've ever said it on one of the podcasts, but you have famously said to me that the Ben Affleck movie costume you really like, don't you?
That is the perfect Daredevil costume. That is exactly how it is. Apart from the fact that it was leather, Obviously, in the comic it's spandex, but spandex would never work in real life, hence why everybody goes for...
Because I always found
tougher.
The Ben Affleck costume just looks really fetish.
Well, precisely, because it's leather.
And it would make that...
Because they decided to toughen it up, they would rather than have spandex, because, you know, who would go out in spandex and beat people up.
And just remind me as well, because I don't recall, what was your view on the TV costume that we got, the final episode?
Didn't like it.
You didn't like it, did you?
No, I didn't.
I did.
Yeah.
I did like it. I mean, obviously, you're much more of a comic purist than me.
I didn't like the horns. I didn't like the way that the mask sort of went down from the sides. I mean, the mask should be sort of straight across from the nose, straight across to the side of the face. In there, it sort of goes up, almost giving him a beak look. And the fact that it's black and red, you know, and I think...
Lots of Black and Decker.
Daredevil should be in red, but again, I'm a purist and I'm a massive Daredevil fan. I mean, Daredevil is my second favourite superhero behind Spider-Man. So
it's your jam.
I have a hell of a lot of Daredevil comics.
So as a Daredevil fan then, excited about this current update that's going to be coming?
Interested to see what they do with it. To be honest with you, I actually went through the list of the Marvel titles from the all new, all different relaunch, 45 titles, and marked out the ones that I'm going to be buying. And
give us your top three.
Obviously, Amazing Spider-Man,
yep,
which I'm looking forward to doing, although the fact that they're now saying that Parker Industries is now a massive global company, and therefore Peter's, in terms of his profile, he's almost in Tony Stark territory now. Very well off, and, you know, a bit of a jet-setting mogul.
That does not excite me.
No, precisely. I'm excited to see how they do Daredevil.
Right.
Obviously, my third favourite hero is Hawkeye, so I'm always looking forward to seeing what they're going to be doing with him. A sleeper one that I'm quite looking forward to is Scarlet Witch.
Oh, okay.
Not because I'm a massive fan of the character, but because it's written by James Robinson, who's the guy who wrote Starman, which is my favourite comic series of all time, and stuff like Leave It to Chance. Big fan of his writing, so I'm looking forward to see what he's got in line for the character.
Excellent.
But yeah, what I'm buying is sort of very much the sort of stuff I was buying before. You know, there isn't a great deal of stuff that I'm thinking, I'll give that a go. It's wait and see.
Very nice. I think you did pretty well there.
Thank you.
If I had to give you any pointers, I would say, keep it more punchy.
Okay.
Maybe learn to shut up a little bit.
Okay.
But on the whole, I'd like to invite you back next week to do maybe another brief trial period.
Was me wearing pants a mistake then?
It was a little bit. It did count a little bit against you.
Okay. I apologise.
I thought I'd clearly laid out the guidelines, but evidently not. But as always, regardless of whether or not you've done a trial shift or not, get out.
Get the damn hell out.
Get the Sam hell out of my monkey farm.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
And now we should move on to this week's Quick Hits.
Quick Hits.
And we should start off this week with you, sir.
Alright. I have just realised over the past however many episodes we've done of this absolutely glorious podcast
that you've forgotten something.
Do you know what I've never done as one of my quick hits? Night of the Living Dead.
You haven't?
No, I think you were expecting me to say Texas Chainsaw Massacre there, weren't you?
You did that on our old podcast.
That's dead to us. Night of the Living Dead. Do you know, I watched it recently.
The remake, yeah.
Okay. In which language would you like me to tell you to go fuck yourself? Because I am trying to learn a little bit of German at the moment. The original, Night of the Living Dead, I watched it very recently, and I'd forgotten quite how much of an effective film that is for a black and white flick. For
such a low budget flick,
it is just one of the most gloriously fun films. Yet at the same time, so dark and so foreboding and so scary. If it was 2:00 in the morning and the whole house was quiet and you flicked the TV on and that was the only thing that was on, you would shit yourself. No matter how hard as nails you were.
The first proper zombie film.
I mean, it obviously spawned many, many sequels by the absolutely fantastic, and I will have to go down. I'll have to go down. I won't have to go down anywhere. So I will be going nowhere. I will have to say that George A. Romero is one of my biggest heroes.
Absolutely.
Much like for you, it would be, I suppose, Stan Lee is a huge influence and a huge hero to you. To me, Romero it's my gamer tag, for crying out loud. Romero's Zombie is my gamer tag.
Have you met him?
I've never met him,
okay.
And I would deeply love to meet him, but I just don't think I'm ever going to now because he is advancing in years. I've sat in the same room as him and I've spoken to him. They did a Q&A, which I was very, very lucky enough to go to with my flatmate Martin. It was such an amazingly awe-inspiring experience to actually sit in the same room and ask him a question. and it really felt like he enjoyed my question. I know everyone probably thinks that when they go to a Q&A, but an amazing man. Those guys in 1968, when they came up with the idea for this film, they put it together. They only had one print of this film, and they drove it from cinema to cinema in order to screen it and things like that. And I love the fact that, you know, everyone kind of thought, wow, it's so brave of them putting a black actor as the main hero, the main protagonist. It was nothing to do with his colour. It was the fact that he was the best man for the job, and he was the best actor at the time. That character was written for a white guy, you know, and they put Dwayne Jones in there to play him, and he just blows it out of the park. He's amazing in it, absolutely amazing. I'm going to keep this pretty short and sweet, because if you are a horror movie fan and you haven't seen Night of the Living Dead, what the fuck are you doing? If you are a zombie movie fan and you haven't seen Night of the Living Dead, I refer you to my previous statement. You've seen it, you know how much of a great film it is, you know how effective it is, even for a black and white movie.
And as an ending, just right up there.
And do you know what? I'm not going to spoil it. I know we normally are quite pretty fast and loose with our spoilers, but if you genuinely haven't seen Night of the Living Dead, I know we say this about a lot of films, but I'm really, really passionate about this one. Please go and... Do you know what? A couple of years ago, they were giving it away free on the front cover of whatever paper was giving it away when they give away in those little cardboard sleeves. You will pick it up anywhere for like £1. It's just an astonishing movie. And obviously, without that movie, we wouldn't have the immortal lines. They're coming to get you, Barbara. Look, there's one of them now. Awesome. Thank you very much, George A. Romero, for basically giving me probably one of the most enjoyable couple of hours of my life. With the film, obviously, Graham. Nothing dirty.
There's no going down there.
There was no going down there, sir. Yeah.
Thank you. Right, for my quick hit this week, what I normally try and do is do small little stuff that I hope people won't have heard of. So I sort of tend to do independent films or comic books, graphic novels, sort of lesser known TV series. But I'm sort of going to bust that trend in this one, because I recently watched one of my favourite films, and it's one of those things that you know you love a film and it's always up there with your favourites, but it's only when you watch it again, having not seen it for a long time, you start to go, man, just every nuance and every stroke of every performance is fantastic. And that is how I feel about my quick hit this week, which is the wonderful film Glengarry Glen Ross.
Oh, great movie.
Based on, obviously, the David Mamet play, with a massive all-star cast.
Huge.
Great ensemble piece. You're looking at Al Pacino, Jack Lemmon, Kevin Spacey, Ed Harris, Alan Arkin, and, of course, stealer of the film, Alec Baldwin.
Oh, yeah.
Who is absolutely superb. And for those who haven't seen it, and it's one of those things, it's a very mainstream film, but I think it's maybe just about under the radar enough for some people maybe not to have seen it. But effectively, Pacino, Jack Lemmon, Ed Harris and Alan Arkin play salesmen in a real estate office. Basically, they get given leads to sell people real estate. And the film begins with Alec Baldwin comes in, and he's come down from the head office to give them basically one of the greatest cinematic bollockings of all time. And comes in and absolutely owns it. And
any of our listeners, if you've ever sat and been bollocked by your boss, you've never been bollocked.
No, even to the point he doesn't introduce himself. He just comes in and starts ranting, and one of them says, excuse me, what's your name? And he says, what's my name? Fuck you, that's my name. One of the great movie lines.
I like his watch.
I know, exactly.
See this watch? This watch costs more than your fucking car. You know why? Because I'm somebody and you're a fucking nobody.
It is amazing. So these four play the salesman. Kevin Spacey is their office manager. And Alec Baldwin comes in and effectively says that things haven't been going well lately. And so they've got these new leads for Glengarry, which is obviously this new sort of area of land that they need to try and sell. And these are the hot leads that they want. What he's telling them is that the two top salesmen will be given the Glengarry leads and the others will be fired. Now, Jack Lemmon's character is in a massive slump. He's just not selling anything, and he's got a very sick daughter, and he's in a bit of a state. Al Pacino is sort of the new kid on the block. He's Ricky Roma.
Ricky Roma.
Yeah. And
what's Jack Lemmon's character? Is it Shelley?
Shelley the Machine Levine.
That's it. Yeah.
And you first see Al Pacino in a bar. You think he's just chatting to this other guy, but he's actually well into his sales pitch, and you just see how beautifully performed it is. And he's selling to Jonathan Pryce, isn't he? He's the guy that he's selling to. And he's just absolutely hammering, but saying as if it's just a normal conversation, and he just happens to have heard about this thing, and and he might be able to get this guy in on it if he can pull some strings, that sort of thing. You see how they work, and effectively this visit by Alec Baldwin causes mass panic. And it's all about just the drama of the whole thing, the pressure they're all under, and who's going to crack and who's going to be able to pull off the sales. And at one point, one of them pulls in, a really big sale and thinks that they've landed it. But just in terms of amazing performances across the board from a massively all-star cast, to me, it's really been bettered.
It's a film that's been oft imitated. I know they said it a lot, but it has been. They've tried to make films like this 100 times over,
but never bettered.
It was a great time for film that year as well. It was 92 that came out. You had a lot of good things coming out in 92, and I think it sat really well amongst all its, all the other good things that were going on. It was quite a small movie with a huge cast.
Yes. But this is it.
Phenomenal cast.
It is very intimate, and that adds to it as well. They're all working in this quite small office, and there's almost a claustrophobic feel. And of course, they're all realising that they're not only competing against each other for figures, they're competing against each other for their jobs. No, just a wonderful performance across the board. But if I'm to point out one, it would be Jack Lemmon. I think Jack Lemmon, considering he was sort of coming towards the end of his career, has rarely been better. I thought he was absolutely superb. But yeah, so I'm sure a great many of you have seen it, but if you haven't, do give it a watch, because it is a superb film.
And always remember, ABC.
Yes.
Always be closing.
So there you go. Now we shall move on to this week's main topic.
When they got the ball, they won't drop it. The Geek-Minded fools discuss the main topic.
Well, so this is episode 21, as you well know, isn't it?
It is.
21 is somewhat of a coming of age, isn't it? I believe in normal terms for normal
key
humans.
Of the door.
Key of the door and all that nonsense, and time to leave behind childish things.
Yes.
And become men, adult men.
Never going to happen to us.
It's not going to fucking happen, is it? No. But I mean, with that in mind, with that mythos in mind, and with that ideology in mind of turning 21 and becoming grown up, and maybe this is the time we need to siphon through some of the stuff and sort through some of the things that have really annoyed us, and maybe vent our spleens. Yeah, indeed. Have a bit of a rant. Have a tear through this miscellaneous debris that we've got rattling around.
Deal with it and then move on.
Yeah, I mean, I know ultimately we will deal with it, and we won't move any further than we ever have in the past 20 odd years.
This is true.
But let's take episode 21 as a jumping off point for just a rant in E minor. An absolute fucking explosion of fuck yous to all these people that have annoyed us.
Yes.
Over the past God knows how many months, and I certainly know that you've got something that you really are quite angry about.
I don't know if angry is the right word, but certainly frustrated.
Okay.
A film that you and I reviewed in one of our earlier episodes and absolutely loved was Avengers: Age of Ultron. Now, it seemed that a great many people out there weren't as enamoured with the film as we were. Which is fine, because, as I've always said to you, one man's shit is another man's sugar, and, everybody's entitled to their opinion. However, in particular, there was one article that was written online by a woman whose name escapes me, which criticised an awful lot of the film, and a lot of people, because it was written in an intelligent way.
We'll call her Fucky McSocktit.
Everybody said, what a well written and well thought out piece, and and it basically stated, this was wrong and that was wrong. And as I say, if you have an opinion that you don't like something that I do, that's fine. I don't have a problem with this. But when you're basing it on poor reasoning and your arguments are poorly thought out, and yet people are still saying, well, it was written well, so what a fantastic piece. And it was reprinted on various geek-type websites, and everyone went, oh, I agree with this. And I just wanted to pick apart some of the things in there that really frustrated me, particularly when it came to Hawkeye. because Hawkeye wasn't really given much of a part in the first film. Because,
and the part he was given was as the bad guy.
Well, this is it. He was tapped with the Loki pokey stick.
Fucking makes me laugh every time you say it.
His eyes went black, and he was a bad guy for half the film. He obviously came good at the end, all well and good, but in terms of character development, I felt he was obviously underused. So what they decided to do in this one was focus an awful lot on him, for example. So when things went tits up for the Avengers, we then went and found out that he was actually married and had 2 children and another one on the way, and yet people were kind of saying, why are we focusing on Hawkeye? This is just boring. It was just a really boring bit of the film. And even Kevin Smith was saying that. He was saying, why so much Hawkeye? Well, why so much Hawkeye was because everybody needs character development, and everybody needs for you to understand their motivations. And what I felt the Hawkeye thing did really cleverly, and as I say, I'm a big Hawkeye fan, and as soon as you find out that a major character has a wife and kids, what does that immediately do? It puts a target on their back.
Of course,
because you think, you're making us think, oh, this person now has something at risk, something to lose. And my first thought, and I almost turned to you and said, but I didn't, was, oh fuck, they're going to kill Hawkeye.
I was shitting myself in that cinema.
Because
I just couldn't.
You knew how I'd be.
I couldn't have handled the fallout afterwards of you just, right, that's it, we're leaving.
And so that was the whole point of doing it. And and it also teed up the wonderful Linda Cardellini as his wife. And there's that great bit where he obviously took the bullet at the start, and they gave him the plastic skin stuff to and he was saying, you can't feel a difference. And there's a bit where she was talking and she was saying, they're all gods compared to you. And he was saying, what? Are you saying they don't need me? And then she said, no, I'm saying that they do need you, and that's what frightens me. And
so he's the human element.
Precisely. That's exactly what it is. He is the one, obviously, alongside Black Widow, who's very much in the same boat, but that's why they're both so close. They're the ones who don't have hammers and shields and armour. And there's that great bit where Linda Cardellini sort of puts her hand on his side and just says, I can feel the difference. And that sort of shows the closeness. And of course, that teed up all the way through, and particularly at the end when Hawkeye has to go back out to rescue the kid who's stuck in the market stall. And I'm just sitting there thinking, this is it, he's going to die. And of course, when he doesn't, it makes Quicksilver's sacrifice all that greater, because you're expecting it to happen. And I don't understand how people can not get that.
No.
How can you not understand why they focused on Hawkeye? Why they gave him the backstory? You give him a backstory to begin with anyway, which of course everybody had pretty much had in their flashbacks, my view, which of course he didn't get to have.
No, of course,
because he got zapped last one, so he wasn't going to get zapped this one. But then another point this woman made was, why on earth would Hawkeye's wife, not knowing Quicksilver at all, and therefore not giving a damn about him, why would she give her kid the middle name Pietro? He was nothing to her. Why would he do that? But the whole point of it is that she was shit scared that her husband's going to go out with these people who all have powers and are all able to look after themselves, and he's not coming back. And there was that great scene, it was very short, when he just walks into the kitchen at the end and she turns to see him, with tears in her eyes. And therefore, if you were to say to her, I nearly bought the farm, if you pardon the pun, but this guy saved me, but sacrificed himself to do it.
I'm surprised she didn't just call the kid Quicksilver.
Precisely.
Because without Quicksilver,
but how can
she
you
wouldn't
not
have a family.
And that was one of the points that this woman was making. Why would you care so much about somebody you didn't know? Because he sacrificed himself to deliver the person back to you that you care about most in the world. What don't you get about that? What are you not understanding? And stuff like that, it really frustrated me. And there was so much within that was so flawed. It was really, really frustrating.
This is the power of the internet, though, and this is the power of everyone can be an armchair reviewer now. I mean, by that token, ourselves doing this podcast, we are armchair reviewers. Everyone's got an opinion,
Yes, and neither is any more right or wrong than anyone else.
No, indeed.
However, when you fundamentally misunderstood what the filmmaker is doing, and it's not rocket science. It's not... to me, to say, why are they focusing so much on Hawkeye? Why the fuck do you think they're focusing so much on Hawkeye? But also, so many people criticise that film by saying, there's too many people in it and therefore there wasn't enough character development. You don't watch an Avengers film for the character development. You want to find out about Steve Rogers' character development, watch the Captain America films. You want to know about Tony Stark, watch the Iron Man films. Yeah. This is when they all get together, have a massive threat and kick someone's ass. Yeah, that's all you fucking need to know.
But the worst thing is these people who are moaning about these points of the films will be the same people who would have cheered, when those opening scenes when you've got them all coming across the screen together. Absolutely. They would have still been there going, yeah, but then they've gone out afterwards and they've gone, actually, I don't get it, so I'm going to attack it.
But then to me, you got something far more valuable than massive character development. You got to see the characters hanging out together and engaging and working out why they work so well as a team. You got to see them all try and lift Thor's hammer.
Yeah,
and
brilliant.
All joking about it. And Hawkeye sitting there with his drumsticks and all of them fucking about. You got so much of Black Widow's backstory in a Scarlet Witch-induced flashback. You got to see Steve Rogers not really dealing with the fact that he isn't at war anymore and not able to come, even in peace he sees war.
One of my favourite little moments, I think, was Cap and Iron Man outside on Hawkeye's farm chopping wood.
Yeah.
I just thought it was such a brilliantly... Yeah. And I've read somewhere online on one of the message boards, I've read, if they would just cut out all the scenes with them chopping wood and doing all this fucking boring shit. It's like, well, you moan about the characters not developing, but then when we try and develop the characters... Sorry, I say we, like we fucking made the film, but when they try and develop the characters... It bores you.
You're not. So, do you know what? The funny thing is, my kids, and okay, I know they're only 6 and 4 and shouldn't have been watching a 12A. Well, no, technically they can watch a 12A film because I can decide whether I think it's okay for them. Yeah. And they watched the first Avengers and they loved it. My daughter watched some of the second one. I think my son was still too young, but she started to watch it. Got about an hour and said, "You know what? This is a bit boring. There's too much talking."
And that's fair enough.
She actually said that there was too much talking, and yet the grown-ups are saying there's not enough character development. There is enough of this. We don't understand people's motivations. Yeah. You understand their motivations, but a 2.5-hour Avengers film is not where you're going to be getting, the crucial things that will move a character on. You had Thor had his little bit that's obviously going to spill out into his film. So there was so much in there. So. What I think happened was, I think people loved the Avengers so much, the first one, Avengers Assemble, it was called over here. I think they loved it so much that they wanted this film to make them feel like that, but it was different. That's not to say it wasn't as good, but I think because it was different and there was more characters in it, but you have to have more characters. That is the whole point of the Avengers in the comic.
It's a team.
Precisely, but it's a constantly changing roster.
And as you rightly say, if you want to just concentrate on one character, then just follow that character's series of films.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's absolutely ridiculous. But I tell you, one of the biggest annoyances for me were all the people online, all the people on the message board said, "All right, so Hulk can fly planes now, can he?" No, Hulk can turn off a radio if you watch the fucking film properly.
Yep.
That's all he does.
Yep.
It's on autopilot.
Yep. How
can people not get that? I've seen that film twice. Mm-hmm. And I knew that from the first time I saw it.
Yep.
And I didn't have to sit there and go, "Oh, has he learned how to fly a plane?" No, because he's the fucking Hulk, you idiot. It's just ridiculous people who All right, we've spoken on a previous episode about Fantastic Four. Now that was a serious exercise in a studio not understanding the source material and the property that they've got and fucking it up royally.
Yeah.
Marvel have proven time upon time upon time that they know their shit. Mm-hmm. There's no way they're going to put a scene in their film with the Hulk learning how to fly a plane. Come on, you dicks. Honestly, think about what you're writing on these message boards. In fact, this is turned into Room 101. I want to put message boards into Room 101, please, Frank.
So many people across the board just, like it or not, it's fine. But think about it, understand it. Going to see a movie and experiencing a movie is a two-way street. You have to give something to it as well in order to get something out of it. You have to commit to it. And I think so many people just went in there almost, it's seemingly with a chip on their shoulders, wanting to hate it.
Yeah.
And therefore their desire to do it down blinded them to the rationale behind so much stuff that they said that they hated about it. It frustrated me. Yeah. And I just wanted to have an opportunity just to say, people, just watch the fucking film and think about it. It's all there. And I thought pacing-wise, the whole film was really good. It kept the story flow going. Everybody's motivations were understandable.
The pacing was so good, in fact, that I could have happily have sat there for another 45 minutes to an hour. I could have watched more.
Absolutely.
And this is an argument that I've heard from quite a few people, and they've said that they didn't feel it was as strong as the first Avengers movie and felt it was overlong. Whereas I felt it was easily its predecessors equal.
At least as good.
Yes. And could have happily, as I said, sat there for another hour watching it, because I just love every character in it. I love how they've developed them. I love how they've developed them. Yeah, development. It's all there, as you say. It's all there if you just stop being so blinkered.
As I say, the fact that in the party scene you had Cap talking to Falcon, you had Iron Man talking to War Machine, Jim Rhodes or what have you.
Who was brilliant.
Well, precisely. But
brilliant.
Also, therefore, when Iron Man walks away and when Hulk walks away and when sort of some of them walk away and you've got the new team, you aren't going, oh shit, why have they got that? You're thinking, yeah, Rhodey, he was really good earlier on, I like him. You've got Vision, yeah, we like him, he can pick up Thor's hammer, that's all fucking good. You've got Scarlet Witch, who, as we said back when we reviewed it, to me, the scene where Hawkeye has the speech and says, look, I don't care what's going to happen. You can stay here, and it's no disgrace, and I'll tell your brother where you are, and he can come and get you, or you can come and fight with us. But from now on, you're an Avenger. Yeah,
you walk out that door, you become an
Avenger.
Yeah.
And he goes out there and he's flying away, and her entry or her exit, if you like, when she comes out and just throwing arms left and right and taking down these robots,
she was brilliant.
Superb.
She was
absolutely brilliant.
Really,
one of those real moments, and I don't see how you can do stuff like that down.
I've tried to make a little bit of sense of the bashing it's got and the hate that it's garnered. And the only thing I can think of is where the first film was so accessible, being, if you like, partly an origin story of the Avengers, and albeit we'd already had the characters teed up to get to where they'd got. But the only thing I can think is that the Avengers Age of Ultron maybe paid too much fan service, or maybe confused some viewers who are not as au fait with the comics and the history of the films, and that kind of frustrated people. That's the only thing I can think of that would cause such a backlash from something that is genuinely such a joyous and brilliantly made film.
Absolutely. Now, you see, to me,
people do say that people do fear what they don't know, and people do hate what they don't know, and people are blinkered to what they don't know.
The first Avengers film is an absolutely fantastic film. I absolutely adore it. But one thing you always find with origin films, the reason why Spider-Man 2 is better than Spider-Man 1 is that you didn't have to spend the first hour giving Peter his powers and establishing how he gets to, have the outfit and all that sort of thing. And much like the first 45 minutes to an hour of Avengers was sort of them getting together, the big, them taking Loki, the big Cap, Iron Man, Thor fight and that sort of thing. And you always have that, you have to have them being against each other before they can, and even when they're on the helicarrier, they were all arguing, they're all going to go their own separate ways, and it's only, with the final invasion that they all come together and form this team. Yeah. And you aren't bound by that in the second film. You can hit the ground running. And yet people saying, I didn't think Ultron was strong enough, and I didn't feel that he was a big enough threat. And it's like, threatening to make humankind extinct.
What more of a threat did you want?
Precisely.
Than something that is, infinite.
Yeah.
There's no way you can hide
kill
from.
us all, and
the fact that Spader just absolutely, as you would say, knocked it the fuck out of the park.
Definitely,
he was amazing.
Yeah. And therefore, because of things like that, you kind of think, are people hating it because they genuinely think it's flawed, or are people hating it simply because it's not the first film, because it's something different? And let's face it, one thing people always fear more than anything else is change. Yeah. People love the Avengers. They love those 6 characters. You give them a film where 4 of those characters walk away and replace with 4 new ones. Oh no, we don't like change. Can we have the old ones back, please? Yeah. The Avengers never went 20 issues without having a roster change of some kind or another.
Yeah, the only other thing that I could think of in the back of my mind as to why people might be a little bit down on it is how they saw it and where they saw it. Because we were lucky enough, obviously, to see it in IMAX. Mm-hmm. And it's an experience. It really is. To see any film in the IMAX.
It's an event.
And it's an event. And that is an event movie, and it should be treated as such. All right, the IMAX isn't expensive. But we are probably, I was speaking to my flatmate about this a little while ago, and we are probably a little bit above the average moviegoer. We probably consume more movies than the average moviegoer would. So if you are someone who doesn't go to the movies all the time, treat yourself and go and see a film like this, how it's meant to be seen. On a massive screen with blaring speakers and amazing sound. It doesn't have to be 3D if you don't want it.
No, absolutely.
But to see a film like that in a tiny little, I'm not going
Flea pit,
to, I'm not going to name check any cinemas that are really, really sticky floored and horrible, like the one we saw Zack and Miri in.
Yes, literally.
Which actually, thinking about it, was probably the best place to see Zack.
Probably
and Miri.
very fitting. Yes.
But yeah, it is inexplicable. I don't understand why people have bashed it. I really don't, because as we both said kind of earlier, it's equally as good as its predecessor. It's a great fucking movie.
As I say, by all means bash it. I will disagree with you, but if you want to bash it, that's fine. Yeah. But base your rationale on well thought out arguments rather than bullshit simply because you've failed to understand plot points and character arcs. It's just...
I'm glad you just put that in there, because I was getting rather too overly passionate about people bashing it and not giving any reason for my anger. So thank you for adding that in there. That was well needed. You're always the brain of the outfit.
Well, no, I'm not.
Well, I don't know. That would make me the cock.
Indeed. Well, you're definitely that.
I'm sure we got other things we can moan about.
Well, have you?
No, I'm quite happy to. I mean, you are the moaniest man I know. You're not really.
No, I am.
So I'm quite happy for you to lead off, and let's just go with this.
Well, do you know what?
This is our 21st birthday.
This is true.
All right.
Yes. The next thing I wanted to talk about wasn't so much a moan as just a second chance to voice an opinion, and that is because
who's been putting you down? Who's been telling you can't have an opinion?
No one.
Oh.
Back in episode, I think it was 16. We had just seen the Batman vs Superman trailer.
We have.
And straight off the bat, you said to me, what did you think? And I unfortunately went off at a tangent because I started to say, because it was fresh in my mind, how frustrated I was that DC are deviating from the whole movie TV crossover and are having a different Flash in the movie than they have in the TV series.
Okay, so this is less a rant. This is you covering up a rant that you had to get across your proper point.
Precisely.
Well, wow, that's beautiful. That's what this episode's for.
Yes.
Happy birthday.
Getting stuff off your chest.
Yeah.
So, to voice my actual opinion on it rather than just ranting about DC's handling of their heroes in general.
Indeed.
One thing that I did specifically like and wanted to say at the time is the fact that the first trailer, the teaser trailer for Batman vs Superman,
the Do You Bleed trailer.
That's right. I felt that they focused too much on Superman being the purported bad guy and Batman being the one who has to take him down, the one who's there to police him. And what I liked about this one was it was far more balanced. You know, you obviously had, as you said at the time, Bruce Wayne showing his heroics, running into the cloud of smoke as they were
running into the danger.
Yeah, precisely, rather than out of it. And him obviously shielding the little girl. You know, obviously, which was in Metropolis, which was Superman's fight with Zod. But one thing I liked was you had the moment later on with Lois Lane with Superman when she sort of I think she puts her hand on the logo, doesn't she?
Yeah.
And sort of says, you know, you need to let people know that this is what you're about. And it was far more balanced because, yes, if this person with almost godlike powers arrived on Earth and pretty much trashed a city, even though it was in trying to protect the planet, he still seemingly caused some of the damage.
You'd be none too happy about it.
Well, precisely. But having obviously seen Man of Steel, we know why he did it. We know his motivations. We know he's a good guy. We know he cares. We know he was brought up in our world. And so I'm glad that it had that more balance to it, and therefore sort of represented Superman a bit more, because my concern was from the first trailer, is this all going to be Superman bashing and eventually Superman manages to convince Batman that he's not a bad guy? But I sort of like the fact that they certainly had a bit more balance. And one thing that was very interesting about that, though I didn't notice when I watched the trailer, I've sort of watched it obviously a few times now, there's a scene in Man of Steel where I think Zod is almost sort of testing out his
heat ray, his heat vision.
Ray. And he sort of turns and he cuts through a building. And then in the trailer you see that, but from another perspective. You see it from outside the building, which I hadn't realised.
Yeah, that's what causes the destruction that Bruce is running
into.
That's why I was so like, okay, that's cool. So, I mean, this is obviously going to be some sort of flashback, I think, isn't it?
Now, tell me something, though. This whole business about them suddenly making Batman vs Superman about Bruce Wayne being there at the destruction of, not complete destruction, but the devastation within Metropolis. Do you think that Snyder had that in mind from the get-go? Or is this them responding to the fact that after Man of Steel so many people said, well, why is he doing that in Metropolis? Surely Superman would get him away from that to prevent that devastation. Do you think they're doing that as a reaction to so many people criticising them for doing it, and therefore they think, tell you what, let's do this? Or was this the game plan from the get-go?
I think this was from the get-go. I genuinely do. I think they knew exactly what they were doing when they made Man of Steel. I think they knew exactly where they were headed with it. I think they had Suicide Squad in mind, probably very, very early on, because that's going to link in as well, obviously, with Batman v Superman as well, because we see that lovely scene in there with the... has to be Robin's outfit, doesn't it? With the ha-ha-ha jokes on you. It's all going to be interlinked, and I just feel that that's something they couldn't have just come up with and gone, why don't we do this? Because this will work. I think it was all planned from the beginning. In my opinion, Zack Snyder's only really ever dropped one bollock, and that was Sucker Punch.
Which... I don't think it's a terrible film.
No, it's not, but it's nowhere near as strong as his other work.
No.
I mean, the highest praise I can ever give Zack Snyder is that I absolutely adore the Dawn of the Dead remake.
Yes.
And that's got fast zombies in it, which are a no-no in my eyes.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt.
But that film sits...
You know, to me, that is as strong an opening 10 minutes of a horror film as you're likely to see anywhere.
I've said to many, many people, I think it is one of the best opening scenes to a horror movie of all time. Because I really do. I think it all... Purely for the fact as well that horror, in my eyes, is not just blood and guts, but it is also the Welsh band that are the Stereophonics. And they are featured in the opening scene, and I fucking abhor them. That's what I imagine hell would be like, just re-listening to that song over and over again. But no, I mean, going back to your original question, I do think it was all planned from the start, and I do think they knew where they were going with it.
Because I don't.
You don't? You think they're reacting to this whole, Superman's fucking ruined everything. And
you think, I mean... Batman vs Superman, it's going to be out in 2016.
Yeah.
We know that for the last year or so they've been filming it. I mean, Man of Steel was what, end of 2012?
2012, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it came out mid 2012 because I got the Blu-ray for Christmas 2012.
Yeah.
So Batman vs Superman, if they're starting filming it in 2014, you're looking at it being written 2013. I do generally think that there is enough time there for them to be saying, shit, they're right, we need to write that into stuff. And that's probably what bore Batman vs Superman. Them actually thinking, we need somebody to police Superman because of what he did.
And look at who we've got now.
Precisely.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised if Batman vs Superman was born out of the public reaction to Man of Steel. But
even if it was.
But again...
Well done.
Well, yeah,
you know what I mean? Well
done
for reacting and creating something brilliant out of what effectively could have... I mean, but I didn't hate Man of Steel.
No,
the amount of people I hear say Man of Steel, it was just dull and it was boring. It wasn't. It was far from dull. It was far from boring. Couldn't give a fuck whether he snaps odds.
I tell you what,
I don't care.
I will always love Man of Steel because it gave us one little throwaway moment, and that was when the jets come in. The fighter jets come in, and the woman lands on the front of
Feora,
of the one that's closest to camera.
Yeah,
and what you see in the background is the male one, which would have been Non.
Yeah.
Land on the front row, rip the canopy off, lift the bloke out, and of course because it's going at Matt whatever, this bloke just disintegrates. And it's such a throwaway thing because it's in the background, but seeing that I just thought, do you know what, they've thought about that. That is such a beautiful bit of cinema, but something that blink and you'll miss it.
I can't remember what the character's name is,
but him to literally just pull someone out, and of course he's fine because he's Kryptonian, and this bloke just literally just dissolves in air.
She was actually one of my favourite things about that.
She was good.
There was that amazing scene where she just walks through a big crowd of military and she just takes them all out, and it's just so perfectly done.
Yeah.
Do you know what?
It's a very strong film.
May even rewatch that tonight.
Good man.
It is a bloody good film, and we've got a lot of good stuff coming out of that as well. You've obviously got the Justice League is going to be teed up properly. Obviously, this is the Dawn of Justice, so you've had those two movies announced. A lot of people are saying that DC can't compete with the Marvel, how they've done their phasing, the Phase 1, Phase 2. Obviously, Phase 2 ended with Ant-Man.
Yep.
Phase 3 opens with Civil War. And I just think DC have not necessarily fallen in line and done it in the same way, but they are complementing the Marvel movies. And if anything, I think people should just stop all this. Do you know what? They're never going to stop it. It's always been the same way. If there's ever going to be something that can compete, people are going to have them compete.
Of course, absolutely.
Xbox versus PlayStation. Call of Duty versus Medal of Honor, whatever. I think we need to stop this argument of which studio is better, Marvel or DC, because I think we should just celebrate the fact that they're all being made. They're all brilliant.
People just love to play favourites and play that, and particularly with Marvel versus DC, because the war between Marvel and DC over the years has been perpetuated by Marvel and DC,
which is quite clever of them, really.
Precisely.
But
So
one other thing I will say on that as well is if we are going to believe that DC are entering this phasing idea that Marvel have had, then can people stop thinking that Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy is part of this? Because it's not.
Absolutely.
It starts at Man of Steel. That is the opener. That's DC's Iron Man, if you like. Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm sick of reading all this nonsense of, oh well, but they can't tie this in because of Levitt's character in the end of Dark Knight Rises. Like, just get a fucking brain and realise that they're not all interlinked. Okay, these are different visions of just understand.
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
understand.
Of course, one good bit of news for you, particularly.
It's all cleared up.
Yes, indeed.
It's not dropping off.
The cream worked. Is the recent announcement that Matt Ryan is going to be back as John Constantine in Arrow.
He is. Only for one episode.
Yeah, but
it's enough for
they're
now.
keeping it alive.
They're keeping it alive. And I tell you what, they need to seriously have another look at that, because that show I really enjoyed. Not just for me. There are hundreds, thousands, possibly millions out there who really, really enjoyed it. No, you laugh, but it was a bloody good show, and I think a really, really strong character that not enough people know about, because not enough people do read comics, because it's not for everyone. If you can push this character, in another medium like TV or like film, which they did attempt with the Keanu movie, which if it hadn't been called Constantine would probably have been quite a good movie, if I'm honest. But it was, and it wasn't. But yeah, the Constantine TV show, brilliant. And I did see that bit of news the other day, and I went, oh, that's nice.
Oh, lovely.
It's just I don't watch Arrow.
No, but you'll be watching that one.
Oh, we're watching that episode. I really enjoyed the Flash and Arrow crossover.
Yes,
thought that was really good.
Yeah.
But Arrow, I can't really stomach the guy who plays him.
No,
he's just too adorable.
Stephen Carnell or something.
We'll call him Man Crush number 13.
Nice.
I don't know if I've got 12 others, but he's definitely 13.
He's definitely the 13th.
Definitely 13.
Anything else you want to get off your chest?
Do you know what? I feel lighter.
Good.
I do. My shoulders feel lighter.
We vented.
I
We came,
feel
we saw,
vented.
we vented.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, I'm pretty sure, but there's going to be other episodes where we have to do this. I mean, I think
I don't doubt it.
I mean, purely for the fact that I think it's healthy.
Yes.
I think it's maybe not healthy for us to be sitting as close together with as little clothing on, but it's definitely healthy.
Comes with the territory.
It is very warm in here. I'm not coming in anyone's territory. Thank you very much. But no, I enjoyed that, and I enjoyed reaching the grand heights of 21 episodes. 21
episodes.
21 episodes, young.
Yes.
I will say thank you to everyone who's been listening for the past 21 episodes.
We seem to have developed a small but loyal audience, which is great, and we thank each and every one of you.
We do. And
we get great feedback from people. Yeah. At the end of the day, we are fully aware that we're just two idiots who sit and talk about the first thing that comes into their head, and we enjoy doing it, and I think frankly we would do it if no one was listening, but it is nice that so many people say so much kind things.
And with that being said as well, July 4th next year I will be 40 years old.
You will.
So
how the hell did that happen?
I know, and I'm genuinely thinking about doing a I think they call them crowdfunders, but I'm going to call it a begging letter. So if anyone wants to send donations to me, because I want to go to the San Diego Comic Con next year, and I'd like to go with my best friend of all time, Graham. So if you want to pay for us to go to the San Diego Comic Con for my 40th birthday, in order for us to do, X amount of episodes from there, then we couldn't stop you sending the money. Do you know? That's all I'm saying. We couldn't stop you sending and funding that trip.
Shocking behaviour.
It's got to be worth a fucking try. It's got to be worth a try. People have crowdfunded worse things,
This is true.
But no, really, thank you very much, guys, for all listening for the past 21 episodes, and we're going to carry on doing it.
Yes,
as much as we can.
This isn't the end. Sorry, we're
not
going to keep going.
We're sorry about the hiatus. That was my fault, and big gushing love to all of you. Big gushing love to Mark, our fabulous artist, who's done us proud. The third and most silent Geek-Minded fool.
We need to get him on.
We will get him on.
We will do.
We will give our artist a voice.
Yes.
But yes, I'll stop gushing. Do you want to wrap this shit up?
I've got one more thing to say.
Oh, hello.
And that is, funnily enough, following on from our regular listeners, a friend of yours. But it's funny because on Facebook, he seems to be friends with a lot of people that I know from Epsom. So I do wonder whether I ever met John Carlin or not at some point.
You would have met John, definitely.
Yeah.
You've definitely met John.
Because, a lot of people that I was hanging around with at the time that we were in Epsom, he seems to be pally with. But anyway...
A lovely, lovely man. Who I haven't unfortunately seen for many, many years, but I would love to see John.
He followed us through our first incarnation of I Actually Quite Liked It and jumped over with us and Geek-Minded Fools. And one thing that he did when we put the Facebook post announcing that we were jumping over here, he very kindly put a message saying, gutted that's coming to an end, but looking forward to the new thing. But then said, have you guys thought about this? And he put a link up to a course, a comic book course.
He did.
About superheroes, called something like The Rise of the Superheroes or something, that was run by the Smithsonian Institute in the States. And I'll be honest, when he put that on, I hadn't actually noticed it. I'd sort of read his first bit and didn't see that, and it was only a few weeks later I was going through it and suddenly spotted this and thought, that looks interesting, I'll sign up for that. And I thought it was just going to be a course, it's very theoretical, but it was all about the history of superheroes, and what it turned out to be was you actually had to create your own superhero. You had to base the powers on a god and create a supervillain and powers and weaknesses and this and that and the other. And you and I sort of started talking about it and bouncing ideas off each other, and we were going to do it together. I was going to do the writing, you were going to do the art. But unfortunately, your job then got in the way and you weren't able to do it.
You did.
But yeah, I did it and I passed.
Hey!
And I got my little certificate signed by Stan Lee and the guy who runs it, which is a lovely bit of art on it by Phil Jimenez, saying that I passed the course with my superhero.
And has the diploma got like a title of such? Are you now a doctor of comics?
I am. I'm Dr. Doom.
Excellent stuff.
So, thank you, John. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was just a shame that we weren't able to do it together, but they are doing another one.
They're doing another one. I know, because I've read about it.
There you go. So
it's something that I would love to do with you, my darling, my special man.
We should do, shouldn't we?
We should do.
Because,
and John, if you want to get involved, dude.
Absolutely.
Let us know.
But yeah, so thanks for that, John. That was absolutely fantastic. I had a whale of a time doing it, and like I say, now I have a lovely certificate to say that I passed the course.
He is Dr. Comics.
Yes, indeed. But other than that, are you done?
I think I'm well and truly done.
Good stuff. Right,
Spent.
That's it for this week's episode. So, for myself, Graham.
And myself, Scott.
Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.
So have a nice